Welcome to the epicenter of sports and entertainment. This is the Root Dog Show. Now, here's your host, Rudy Reyes.
Yeah, welcome to the room, everybody, or it depends on where you're at across the country. This is a Rude Dog Show. I am Rudy Reyes, joined by Charles J. Ritchie. We know Week 4 is in the books, despite the game we watched, as Tua Tagovailoa, however you want to pronounce his name. I think it's wrong. People know him as Tua. And Miami Dolphins had taken on the New York Jets. Yeah, okay, so it's a little bit dated, but that's all right. Why? Because we're still in the midst of a very upsetting, and we'll talk about last night's game as well between the 49ers and the Rams. But last night it was a very good game. I didn't expect it to go that distance, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the Jets as they basically were traveling on to play at Hard Rock. Charles, let's look at the very first matchup here tonight, because we were looking at what these winless teams were trying to bring. So when you scan the first matchup, what are your initial thoughts about this game prior to kickoff?
I will just say this. First of all, has anyone talked about the Miami Dolphins black uniforms that just debuted this Monday? I mean, no offense, though. I must say, those uniforms look god awful, in my opinion. I'm sorry, though, for them to use those color rush throwback. Not throwback, but the new uniforms they're going to be wearing for color rush, the dark. That does not go well with the Miami Dolphins. I don't know about you, but I just found that a little awkward. Even though they snap a 3-game losing streak, both of these teams, just like the Ravens and Chiefs on Sunday, were in the dogfight to avoid going 1-3. In this case, it was a battle of the winless teams right here, and the Miami Dolphins do find a way. And once again, you get to see a guy like Justin Fields, infamously, even going back to the way it was with the Chicago Bears, always finds a way, like late game, not late game in this one, but just does not do well under the lights in particular, as he's running out of chances right now, see if he could be a legitimate long-term star right now. I hope a guy like Aaron Glenn, who's kind of started off pretty stiff, trying to get his run style, run first type of offense. Bill Parcells like culture since taking over the head coaching job for the Jets right now. But you really kind of wonder. You look back at a guy like Dan Campbell 4 years ago. How much leash are you willing to give him? See if he could turn things around right now. And just once again, just this game right here, as Hank Williams would say, "Are you ready?" Well, I don't think the Jets seem to be a little bit ready, because they concede 14 points off of 4 total turnovers, including a 4 and out right here. Jets, Jets, not really feeling the love in the state of New Jersey right now.
Yeah, I look at this game, Charles, and I think to myself, man, if either one of these teams can get done with get to at least a competitive number, which they did. I mean, as if a blowout. At this game in totality, when we scan this matchup, we look at them coming in 0-3. Both of these teams, did that help their cause to win a game? I don't know, maybe. I highly doubt it. It's like saying shoes will make you faster in the 40, and I just don't. I was expecting something relatively home, ish, and had nothing to do with these color rush uniforms. I guess the Jets didn't really put on a show in that regard. There were, they were away jerseys. So they were away. There was nothing special about it at all. I'm sure the NFL has 30 days to cover all the few teams and the uniforms that they have chosen to create in order to wear on any given Sunday or Monday night, Tuesday night football. But I look at this team. Neither one of these quarterbacks really got Justin Fields has the legs, the physicality. He's able to get out of the way when he needs to, scramble outside the pocket, and really make things happen. The only thing that's happening are losses and more losses. And
Yeah.
as much as, we've seen the opening game against the Steelers, it was a very, very competitive game, probably the most competitive game out of, I don't know, the fourth they played so far, and being 0-4. They're right in the nick of things. Do you think they're going to end up getting their win this Sunday?
For the Jets, I'm not really too sure right now. I mean, listen, I mean, you got a guy like Aaron Glenn. I mean, right now, who's been trying to be like a player's coach right there. I mean, he's running up and down the sideline whenever some splash plays happening. You saw about a week ago when they had last week was a story of blocked field goals like in a week for like a Sunday, which they had momentarily, temporarily on the Bucks, but then just once again just find a way to melt down. And like I said, I'm not really too confident right now about the Jets going forward. I mean, at this point. I mean, you're going to be having another matchup coming up, let's say, uh, this weekend. They're going to be taking on the Dallas Cowboys in the Meadowlands. Uh, I don't know. I mean, that game could be like a coin flip right now. I mean, it's just a matter right now where you have like the Jets, more particularly Justin Fields right now. Like I said, I hate to keep picking on this guy, but once again, one thing that always seems to continue to be common, he continues to be like one of the team's leading rushers versus, like taking more strides and improving his passing game, involving the receiving room. And when I'm saying involving the receiving room, I'm talking about more so for scores. It's not necessarily for catches. I mean, that was what cost him his job last year when he started off as a quarterback for the Steelers a year ago. It's not like he wasn't showing some improvement with his completion percentage. There's still some times where he's not getting rid of the ball quick enough. I mean, there's times he uses his legs when he has to, which works to his advantage. But at the end of the day, I mean, bottom line, you got to score as a passing quarterback as much, your legs. Yes, we want to have quarterbacks be able to run, beat the blitz. But at the same time, it's just not shaking out. Or, the Jets right now, I mean, they're kind of similar to like where the Chicago Bears are trying to like turn things around, like becoming a real toxic organization as of late right now. A lot of stuff. I don't know. I mean, the Cowboys. Hey, I'd have to quote the old Mike Ditka when he was at his last stop for New Orleans Saints. That team could not tackle a flea. So who knows? But I mean, here's the thing though. The dangerous thing about the Cowboys coming into town, they got a dangerous offense. Now, yes, you're going to be without CeeDee Lamb likely, but you found some promise right there and what George Pickens could do right now. The guy who's looking for a new contract coming up this offseason, playing on the final year of his rookie deal right now, did not get signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, got traded over to the Cowboys. Took like a third round pick, I believe it was, early instead of waiting to see if they qualify for compensatory pick. But I mean, the Cowboys, like I said, this could be a dangerous matchup for them, but at the same time, they also have their consistency. So I don't know. I have to say 50-50 right now. It's really hard to see what you could sell right now for this team.
Right. That's actually a really good point, because Dak Prescott has had more completed passes between these two teams. And it's not as if the Dallas Cowboys are blowing people up offensively, because, well, they're not. You can get it to George Pickens. You can get it to anybody you want. The problem is that they don't have the personnel. Not only do they not have the personnel, but the Jets do not have the personnel. The only thing that's been keeping the Jets going is Garrett Wilson. Let's just call it what it is. Breece Hall in the backfield, able to get that ball. He's a downhill runner. He's a pounder and a pusher. He's just one of those guys where if you give him opportunity and the offensive line is showing those A gaps and maybe doubling up on someone to avoid, pressure, he's going to be able to gain those yards right after that carry and be as explosive as possible. The problem with the New York Jets is the offensive line and quarterback play. That's what's really killing them right now. Defensively, they're not really lighting up the screen per se, and they're kind of at par, minus the wins, at least at this point in the season, than they were last year. Last year, they had already won 2 games. Right now, they're the winless team. They're one of the few winless teams left in the National Football League. So look at this as maybe a step moving forward for the Dallas Cowboys if they were to able to get in rhythm in order to take the Jets out of any possibility. But again, these teams are probably more evenly paired than it looks like on paper. They look more equivalent on the field, but the only thing that's different right now is quarterback play. Dak's doing it. Justin Fields is not. So the bottom line is that when you look at the Jets, it's almost as if every single time they go in for a landing, they get some rotten jet fuel, right? Because they lost to the Steelers. They lost, they played against the Bills, which we know was going to be an extremely tough matchup, especially early on in the season where they haven't even gotten underneath themselves, at least not yet. And then obviously they try to give the Eagles a run for their money, but unfortunately we know the Eagles are still 4-0 and looking to go 5-0 this coming weekend. So, and they play Denver. So that's going to be a really tough, that's going to be tough sledding because Denver just won their game as well. And they beat the pants right off of Cincinnati, which helps the AFC North. And with that, that's always a good problem to have. So moving forward, the Dolphins going into this with Tua under center did not look quite settled. And when I say settled, I mean settled as in where does his completions? Why is he throwing picks? Is he misidentifying? Is he seeing ghosts on the field? I know it's too early for Halloween, but he could be scared, the bejesus out of him, but somehow he found a way to do it at home with Devon A-Chain. Of course, Tyreek Hill goes out with a freak knee incident and separated his knee from his leg, at least to my understanding. But, and Jalen Waddle as well. So there's a lot of moving parts. Do you see the Jets maybe getting this win against the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, knowing how badly the Dallas Cowboys need this next win?
Like I said, it's 50-50, only because, you look back to a couple weeks ago where the Dallas Cowboys should have had a win against the Chicago Bears right there, who were winless 0-2 right there. Here's the thing you got to look at with the Dallas Cowboys. The week before, they had no business allowing that game to go into overtime versus the Giants in week number 2 at home. Yes, Russell Wilson, listen, I know a lot of people haven't made up in their minds. We heard Richard Sherman and Tony Gonzalez pretty much prey on this guy, where it's like he has not been the same guy since the Legion of Boom ended. How he's gotten so full of himself. But he still actually is about 18 games over 500 as a starter since he's left there. A guy who's made 3 consecutive playoff appearances, a Pro Bowl, was in the running for MVP caliber. When you face that Giants team week number 2 right there, a lot in the way they were only in the Giants, the Cowboys were. You figure that should have been an automatic win right there, but instead, Russell Wilson still shows he's got flashes of himself where he could still fling that ball right there deep. And they were able, thanks to their MVP, let's just call it what it is, Brandon Aubrey right there, who could kick from any distance, maybe be one of the first guys to kick a record 70-yard field goal in the regular season, if not for the Jaguars, one not being counted. But bottom line, back to this Sunday's matchup. Like I said, you can't really trust the Cowboys either because last week, it's how are you feeling right now, Dallas? Micah Parsons did not have many lay up the stat board, Skip Bayless were criticized, not enough sacks. They did not, stomp out the Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers with Parsons. But at the end of the day, you still could not stop anybody on defense. You had to end up going for a tie right there, and that's all you got going into this Jets match. I get it, but it's just pretty much their offense. So I'd still have to say 50-50. I'm probably slightly going with the Cowboys, but they got to be a little bit more disciplined. And speaking to your point about the Jets, offensively too, you got to look at it this way. They are 10th in the league as far as overall penalties right now, with 18 of those penalties coming on their offense, where you got 6 of them for false starts right there. You got a couple of delay games. You got a pair of holding calls right there. For 291 yards in totality as a team. But then when you also look back to Thursday night's matchup versus the Dolphins, Tua was not, slowing up the passing yard. He was just under 200 yards. The quarterback play more particularly these days. It almost seems like we're more focusing touchdown interception ratio, completion percentage, maybe not as laying up throwing up a lot of pass yards. But at the end of the day, too, one thing I've been very addicted to paying attention to this stat line, points off total turnovers off a team you could score on your opponent right there. Because listen this way. They're able to still, despite the sloppy passing from Tua, they still got 14 points off of 2 total turnovers on the Jets. That's the equivalent of the NHL right there. When you got someone on a penalty kill and you're in the power play, you want to make your opponents pay by scoring a power play goal, touchdowns more particularly, make some dagger points right there. Field goals are nice, but touchdowns is where you want to really strike it in them. If you want to pull away from your opponent or keep in the game, that's their credit what happened to the Jets game. And that's why it's just really hard to. I mean,
Yeah, I look at how the Dolphins played the Colts. You know, they had 15 third down attempts. They were a five were more than 5
yep.
yards to go for the first down, and one of those came in a garbage time type situation, which isn't essentially nothing. It means nothing. It's meaningless. But pass rushers could try to win in different situations when you look at that matchup. I mean, they were almost 62% completion ratio against the Dolphins defense, which doesn't say a whole lot about how stout they were trying to play, found a way to fall short, just as they had done in the two previous games. So it was a huge disadvantage for the Dolphins to be able to get into the backfield because they didn't have the rushing power. They didn't have the rushing total in order to get to the backfield. But when you look at the Jets side of that coin, they found some success. But I mean, obviously, we had stated Justin Fields was out for a concussion, so they had a backup quarterback in there. But to be quite honest with you, between him and Tyrod Taylor, you know, they haven't really got their legs underneath them yet. They haven't faced an all-out blitz, you know, happy team. You know, they didn't handle a team like the Eagles, you know, who basically can push their way into the end zone. That's the topic for another show. When you look at what they've been able to do on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, no Hassan Reddick or no more else, but they still have a very threatening, you know, and deep rotation. So I just don't know that the Jets are able to get this one. I think they lose this coming weekend against the Dallas Cowboys because of the inept ability for this offensive, I guess, for lack of a better term, offensive juggernaut to show up to really battle the secondary and to win those secondary battles. I just don't know that the Jets really have that capability to do it. However, when you look at Justin Fields, he had 227 yards. He had another to Garrett Wilson. He completed 6 receptions, 82 yards. And for the Dolphins, Devon Achane, it was a guy I really didn't expect to do a whole lot of anything that night, but he carried 99 yards and 1 tutty. So look, Tua did a better job in this game. Not the best, but enough to win by 6, obviously. He had run one in for a touchdown to go on 227 passing yards to another, 177 yards, roughly 7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Though despite a miserable QBR, we look at where he's at overall, he did accomplish something, and that was something that I thought was very improbable, and that was him actually getting to win. That was a problem. Problem for me, problem for fans. And when I look at this game, look, it's their first win, despite his net play as at the quarterback position as being the starter. But I think when you get a lead early and you score in every possible position you have, whether it's 3 points, 7 points, or 6 points to field goal, you miss a PET, you know, scoring 3 points in the first, touchdown second, 15 in the third, and then 3 points in the fourth quarter to help seal the deal against the Jets. I think if you look at this game, for whatever reason, the Jets offense is not able to show up in a way for any time during the season, at least up to this point in the season. And I know it's still young, but man, we're only October. You know, come January, this is going to be a much tighter race. I just don't know that the Jets have enough fuel in their tank. And hopefully, if it's not tainted, they actually go on to win a couple of games, maybe 500, but I'm kind of pushing that at least at this point. But you know, look, the bottom line is this: we get a win, and it wasn't a question of when. A win is a win, so that helps you feel good as a football team, mentally, emotionally, getting you ready for the next game. And I'll be honest with you, I look at the other Monday night game against the Broncos and the Bengals. I mean, look, let's be honest here. I've seen Cincinnati basically screwing the pooch on this, but to only score 3 points, and that was in the first quarter. Did you see them being remotely competitive now that they have a quarterback and they have a backup in there to help ice and make up for lackluster effort of the offensive line, who ultimately allowed for him without great guarding, right, left, or maybe even the guards, or even on the outside, not able to protect their quarterback who's now injured, probably maybe a good part of the season, or maybe even I don't know, maybe into the next season. Like this, we'll see. But the Denver Broncos, my goodness gracious, they scored in every quarter except for the third, where they scored. They didn't really have to because defense did their job. Now they're 2-2 home. did you see the Bengals even being remotely competitive against the Denver Broncos, or did you think the Bengals could walk in and get the win?
Not really. I mean, listen, I thought maybe there might have been a chance though, because you look at the head coach right there, of the Bengals right there, who's done some good things right there, has been to the Super Bowl right here. When you look at it, under head coach Zach Taylor, at the most part, too, no offense, I probably think like their previous coach, who's been there for like the longest tenure so far, Marvin Lewis, will probably done a little bit more of a better job having a team ready to go to fight. Keep in mind, this is a guy who started off with Carson Palmer, then the Andy Dalton, though, who had a nice streak of like playoff appearances, just could not win in the postseason. But I think Marvin Lewis will have probably done like a little bit more better, like with handcuffed the way they were. At the same time, too, Sean Payton right there, he made what of himself the first year, the way he had to kind of like with the team he inherited, the guys he had to force out more, particularly Russell Wilson. This is a guy who's really been hands-on, working with this right now. And you got Bo Nix right now, looking who could be someone special, like maybe a top-tier quarterback, like within the next like 2 years, like arguably top 5, maybe. The way he dedicates himself to like calling like a game plan as an offensive play caller / head coach, and everything you got right there too. And then it's not also helping, adding salt to the wound too, when your quarterback is also getting sacked though too for this game 3 times in this position right there. So only scored 3 points, 2 right now. And then when you got a guy weapons like Jamar Chase, T Higgins, and then you look at like on the defense too, a guy who was looking for a new contract instead just gets a raise. Trey Hendrickson in this game, he's got to be a little bit frustrated too on this defense. He's got no hits on the quarterback in that game, no significant plays, but he still made enough tackles in this game for 4 in this game right here. So, those are some big indictments on the Bengals to think about, but also perhaps to Sean Payton, what he's slowly trying to rebuild his image in the Mile High City as he moved down from the New Orleans Saints right now. To see if they could possibly challenge, like be a threat for that division right now between the Chargers and the Chiefs right now. So it just seems like a 1 from 4 to like now the triple threat as far as an AFC West right now is concerned.
Yeah, no, this is a tighter race. I think the NFC West is by far the most competitive division in the National Football League, at least right now. That could change though. That could change in an instant. And we've seen the Rams prove that theory, because as Kyron Williams fumbled the ball trying to gain that much down, that much needed first down, at least to tie the game, if not try to win the game. So unfortunately, they weren't able to out of their own way, literally and figuratively speaking. I looked at this game, I thought to myself, man, Cincinnati against Denver, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close, not only on the scoreboard, but let's look at the actual numbers. What Bo Nix had done as a quarterback matchup. Jake Brown, 14 of 25, 125 yards. He was only 28.2, and his overall rating was 69.6. That is absolutely horrible. That is horrible. Where's T Higgins, right? Where are all these guys that, Aishaba, or Chase Brown, or, where are all these stars that since he had to help them get out of their own way to gain ground, to gain those yards after catch? They just were non-existent. You look at Nix, my gosh, he had a field day, 29 of 42, 326 yards, averaging 7.8 yards per pass. His QBR is 82.8 and almost 100 on an overall rating. Look, the bottom line is that when you look at the Denver Broncos, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, I thought the game would be a lot closer than the object in the mirror as it would appear. Unfortunately, not for the Bengals. Not for them. It wasn't their day. It's a long way to go from Cincinnati to flying into Denver. That altitude is a killer. I know. I lived there. I get it. I understand. It's difficult to play, and you need oxygen. But I look at this game and I thought to myself, man, is there anybody that's going to step up in a way that they need to, that they should? Offensive line for the Denver Broncos sure showed up with J.K. Dobbins at 101 yards rushing from the line of scrimmage. So, the bottom line is that offensive play, quarterback play, Where are your wide receiver stars? All questions for the Cincinnati Bengals. I take away from this game, I thought, okay, so T. Higgins was targeted 6 times, 19 yards, an average of 10, almost 11 yards per catch, 32 yards. Those are minuscule numbers. These are not your cool Joe numbers from a guy who's now injured and a Jake Browning starting for him. This just doesn't go very well. And you look at the Baltimore Ravens, they're dealing with injuries right now. Injuries. So when I heard Ryan Fitzpatrick talk about how the Ravens will be in the Super Bowl, look, man, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's be honest. They're injury riddled. Their quarterback is also injured, at least to some extent. They don't have the type of fortitude that they really need or they should have in order to get to the Super Bowl. So I don't see the Baltimore Ravens getting the Super Bowl. I don't know where Ryan got that information from, but he is misinformed clearly. But there are some teams that are still knocking on the door. And right now in this part of the season, that is the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. They look basically still as unbeatable as they did when they won the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And it only took 2 times to do it, but they did it in the second time. And that's what really matters is, are the wins. Man, do you think Denver had a game plan for the Cincinnati Bengals? Do you believe they really planned for their life in order to make sure that they were, in winning ways and feeling better about their second quarterback?
No, I definitely feel like they do have a game plan. I mean, listen, Sean Payton's got something to prove right now. I mean, being a second stint, being with the Walmart family organization, ownership of the Broncos, he's been on a mission to have a fire Leonard him. Let's think about it. Towards the end of his tenure without Drew Brees, he didn't have much success. And then when he took that year off and then he came back to the Denver Broncos, the first year was growing pains, had to force some guys out, and then starting to build like a culture in his own image right now. He's got a stake in this race right now, too, a dog in the race right now, where he's trying something to prove right now, where they're going places. This is, his guy right here, Bo Nix, his second year. At the same time, end of the day, bottom line, it's just the winning mentality he's trying to bring there. You just saw it though too, and more than just a passing too. They were able to crush the Bengals in this game too, running rise, 186 to 53 yards right there too in that game, which 2 of them came on the ground right there. Then of course, like your defensive front playing good right there. You had 2 total sacks. I believe it was 3 actually on the Broncos right here. Definitely. I think Sean Payton right there. He's proven himself right. The only question is right now, can they snag that division, right now, who is in possession of the Chargers, or will the Chiefs find a way to get rolling and catch light in the battle, or will they be in the wild card? That's the only question that remains right now. You got to take advantage of this while you can right now. Get your footing set.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And look, the AFC West has a lot of strong contenders. Yeah, the Chargers lost a game. And it sucks. Whenever you lose a game, it's never good. I don't care what team you're on. I don't care if it's an organized team, whether it's an individual effort. It doesn't matter. A loss is a loss. Minnesota lost against Steelers last week in Dublin. We know how that game turned out. It was very close, very, very close. Steelers allowed them to come in with unnecessary defensive, calls that went against them, that backed them up. But they just managed to get it done. And it was their first win, not only first win in Ireland, but the first NFL game in Ireland. So certainly a lot to chomp on the bit for when you think
in general
about where the Steelers are right now at 3-1. Right, correct. I was just going to say that. And so now here we are with the regular season, but Vikings are still there, but they're in London. They're on the other side of the continent. So, they have their work cut out for them. I can't even imagine going back-to-back losses. Not that they will. I'm not saying they will, because the Browns, I'll be honest with you, they don't look great. They don't look good. Joe Flacco being benched, for Dylan Gabriel, out of Oregon. So it's not as if, Flacco's lighting up the screen. I think, I'm not going to say that his day is done, but he's not getting any younger. And to be quite honest with you, between him and Aaron Rodgers, I think Aaron Rodgers certainly has the fit. And it's more interesting about that, as I heard Ben Roethlisberger talk about how he considers this Browns game almost like a bye week game. even though it's not the Steelers bye week, they're treating it as a bye week game. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I haven't had Ben on the show to know, so I can't say for sure whether or not Ben is just pulling this out of the hat or what the situation is. But I can honestly tell you, this is going to be a very, very good matchup this weekend with all these teams. I mean, gosh, the list goes on. Houston takes on Baltimore, both 1-3 teams, both fighting for their lives right now. Houston, Texas do not look good. They do not look like they were in form like they were last year with C.J. Stroud under center, Nico Collins. These guys just aren't on the same page. The team as a whole does not look very competitive, and neither do the Baltimore Ravens, who ultimately were leading the AFC North this time last year. So, look, any given football year, any given football game, any given football Sunday, Monday, or Thursday night, this could change and quickly. Denver will take on the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be a very, very tough game. I think it's going to go down to the wire here defensively for both teams. I don't think there's going to be an offensive onslaught unless you can get to Cortland Sutton if you're Bo Nix down the field and get him early and often and get to your tight ends. So this is going to be a very interesting game. The New York Giants against the Saints. The Saints are now back to who they were, which was the bag over your face kind of fan, now called the Aints. So ain't going to win another game. New York Giants with Jackson Dart, despite not having the league. I got, this game could go any way, to be honest with you. I mean, I like Jackson Dart. I like what he brings. I like his tempo, his personality, his demeanor, what he does, how he does it, the mentality that he approaches in any given game is certainly something to hang your hat on. And I like where the New York Giants are actually trending to. Could they acquire another wide receiver in the market? Well, they should be looking, if they haven't been looking already, and to offset that, get them Malik Neighbors. I mean, you need two guys basically to cover, the loss of not having Malik Neighbors for the remainder of the season with torn ACL. So certainly something to look forward to. What is your game of the weekend, and who do you think's going to win, and who do you think's going to lose?
Well, I think the game of the week, I mean, that'll be coming up for this weekend. I mean, as far as you have to look at one of the primetime matches right here. I mean, not really too many ones here. But if I were to pick one right now, looking at the landscape right now, I'd probably say the one intriguing one will probably be the Washington Commanders visiting the LA Chargers, which would be on Fox, by the way. I mean, at SoFi Stadium right here. Now, listen, I mean, the Chargers have been off to a great start, winning 3-0, which, by the way, have been significant strikes off divisional opponents right there. But they lost the game this weekend to the rookie quarterback who you just pointed out a few moments ago in Jackson Dart on the road in the Meadowlands, who Jim Harbaugh, I think going into that game, had an unbeaten record. So right now, you got to see right now if they can regroup, get back together. You got to watch the Commanders team right here, who is 2-2 right now. I mean, still not necessarily out of the woods right now. I mean, this was a team going into the season who seemed to be one of the Super Bowl favorites somewhere in that mix. But right now, I mean, you got to be a little careful if you're the Chargers right now. I mean, just like the Broncos, I mean, you're trying to be one of those teams who could be that team that upends the Chiefs' run for this year in the AFC West right now. I mean, will they be able to, which team will be able to snag away the keys from Chiefs' kingdom, make a significant run right now? And you got Justin Herbert right here. I mean, who the verdict is still out right now. I mean, at least some people wondering, is this the guy that Jim Harbaugh's want to stick around and win with? I mean, will he do the old Alex Smith card on him and do another quarterback in his image, someone else that could, take him to the next level, trying to establish himself as a college national champion, then become a Super Bowl coach, one of the elite few, become the fourth coach in NFL history right now? I think the Chargers definitely got a lot of proof because honestly, the primetime matches for this weekend are kind of duds in my opinion. No offense. I mean, you got the Bills, Patriots. I mean, Sunday Night Football on NBC. I mean, that's okay. And then you got the Chiefs visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know the Jaguars are 3-1, Chiefs 2-2. Trying to get something reeling. But I really believe that Chargers Commanders game will be a real good game of the week right now. If I were to look at for week number 5 right there, the Fox game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, look, the AFC is wide open right now. The NFC's window's kind of closing a little bit earlier than I think most people had expected to. And when you look at the NFC, there are a lot of great teams right now in the NFC. I'm still waiting for somebody in the AFC to take control over this. We thought the Chiefs were going to be those guys. They are not those guys. And when I heard, who was it? Somebody on the Thursday Night Football states are going to be back in the Super Bowl. No, they're not. Again, one of those force-fed, open your mouth, insert foot type of commentary that, it was Tony Gonzalez. And so, of course, he's a former Chiefs player. Why would he not want the team that he played for his, obviously almost his entire career to be there, to not want to be there? I don't know. It's absurd where some of these guys get this information from. But with that being said, hey, tell everybody where they can reach you, how they can connect with you, Charles.
Yeah, sure. So if you guys want to follow me, you can definitely follow me on X at MetaSteelCGR. You can also check out my Instagram page at MetaSteelNation. On my MetaSteelNation Instagram page, you can find a link tree with many of my other links right there where you can see. And you can also check out my YouTube channel. Just type in MetaSteel Podcast right there. It's been a while since I've had some guests, but I mean, I had some pretty good guests over the last few years, even from the Steelers side, from the Post Gazette, even the recently retired, who's now calling University of Pitt, Billy Hillgrove, on there, and some other people throughout the NFL world over time, though. But yeah, those are my areas where I could check it out. And I just want to say, Rudy, nice show. Love the intro right here. Great stuff. And it's a pleasure connecting with you today and be able to. Thanks for having me on with you. Chat some football for this weekend, man.
I think that. Thanks, Charles. I appreciate it, man. Hey, thanks. Good luck to you, and I appreciate you coming on, and we'll do this again.
Likewise, man. Definitely like that. I'll try and invite you on my show somewhere down the line here. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, we'll talk. Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. That was Charles Ritchie. Make sure you go to Bankroll U. Download the app. It is a very cool app. It's a betting-friendly users app. If you want the best, go to Bankroll U. Download the app today, bankrollU.com, or go to Google Play Store. You can download that as well. And we have another wonderful guest here. And, of course, when we talk about sports, no better to join me on the show than Alan Alford, who I've been trying to get on the show for a hot minute, and he is so patient and so kind. And I thought I'd bring him on. Alan, how are you, man? Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate this. And I know we've been trying to connect, but hey, things happen for a reason. I'm glad to be here and thrilled to be on your show. Thank you, Rudy.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Alan. Thank you. No, the pleasure's all mine. I'm trying to get this on for a hot minute, like I said. Charles, I mean, look, I had Charles Ritchie on, and great talent, great guy. Didn't know he was a Steelers fan, so that's quite interesting in and of itself. But NFL, I want to talk about last night's game because it wasn't something that I had expected. And when I say expected, I thought the San Francisco 49ers were going to lay down their guns before the game ever started and say, you know what? We're just going to lay low. We're going to let the Rams do their thing, handle their business, throw the ball wherever they need to, from Matthew Stafford to, obviously we knew Higbee wasn't going to be there, but Puka Nacua, maybe a little splash of Devontae Adams, we just thought they were going to lay down their guns, but they didn't. They did not. It was surprising to me in many ways. Let's say about the Rams laying it down at home against their rival in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers.
Rudy, I wasn't surprised. The Rams actually have a very good team. I knew that this was a big game for both teams. They both had winning records.
This was one of those that game.
Yeah. And what I loved about the game was the fact that both teams really went out there and competed to win this game. Both teams didn't have any quit. They fought till the very last play. And I kind of knew that I think the whole building knew where the play was going to go, and unfortunately, Peyton, Sean Payton, I'm sorry, I'm the Rams coach. I love what he said at the end of the game, but the fact that he did make a bad call as far as that play, because everybody knew it was going, and he was going on Taylor's side, so it got blown up. Great competition.
Oh, yeah. It's a very, very highly competitive game. There's no question about it. I think when you look at the 49ers, they wanted to do what they should have done, what they should have done from the beginning before Brock Purdy before George Kittle went out with his problems, his knee. And, you can line all those, you can check all those boxes you want. But what really was going on was Mac Jones, as a former number one pick for the New England Patriots, coming into his system that he was semi-familiar with, but not so much to a point where if you knew you were going to throw him in the fire, that he was going to cook. Well, he cooked. He had cooked big time in the first half. I mean, the also flawless 33 for 49, 342 yards, 7 on average per throw, 2 touchdowns. He only took 1 sack. I mean, big deal. 1 sack is 1 sack. And they actually scored a field goal off that sack because they were still within relative distance in the red zone. So the bottom line is Mac Jones being a backup didn't really concern me. What concerned me were the amount of weapons they had available to him, or lack thereof, in this game. And I thought to myself, man, the 49ers just, again, lay down their guns. They may as well throw the white flag and wave it around and say, you know what, we're done. We don't want to do this. We are finished. It's over. The season is lost. But they didn't. They came out firing, and they fired to guys like Tonjes. They fired to Robinson. Christian McCaffrey got in the past game, and the rest scored a touchdown. I mean, this is like, I don't know, it was kind of an epiphany to me looking at how the 49ers played so well, and the Rams just playing catch-up at home. I don't mean catch-up if you put on your burgers and hot dogs, but I mean, they really tried to play catch-up in the second half. And it wasn't even close. I mean, yeah, it was close on paper, but close in gameplay. What are your thoughts about Matthew Stafford? Do you think he somehow, I don't know, maybe it was a pep talk, maybe he had a monster, at halftime? I mean, what do you think his mental state was going into the half, knowing that he's performed 5th all time in the most quarterback comebacks in NFL history?
That's a great question. I think with Matthew Stafford at halftime, and the whole team said, hey, we cannot get blown out of this game. And I think it was starting to fall away and slip away in the first half of the game. And then they kind of woke up and started chipping away at that lead. That's the thing about both teams. So I did say Sean Payton earlier. I meant Sean McVay. They both have very, very good coaching staffs. And that's what it is. Not only that, I know both had to deal with some injuries, but most of their playmakers were there. Christian McCaffrey. You knew that the game was still going to be competitive, because if you get the ball in those guys' hands with those two coaches, it's going to be a game that's going to be, you definitely don't want to miss. Matthew Stafford, I think, was like, hey, I don't want to get blown out of this game. We got to come back in halftime and start getting some scores. And they chipped away. And I honestly think they should have won that game. They being the Rams, they should have won that game. Yeah, I just didn't like that. Like Sean McVay said, I just wasn't thrilled about. And I have Williams as my fantasy football guy. I didn't like that play call, because I knew what was coming next. Like, based on the way the game was going, based on the calls they've been doing, I kind of knew they were going to hand the ball off to Williams, and they handed off to the wrong stride. The strong side of their defense, the 49ers, if you'd have did like Madden flipped it, I think it would have had a little bit better success. But it was a predictable play call. Sean McVay owned it up. I still think with the time that was left on the clock, I think they should have won that game.
Well, they should have. I actually thought they were going to. I've seen Kyron Williams do it, but he fumbled at the line. They were going down for a touchdown, and I've seen that fumble going back the other way. Myself, man, this just does not know how to hold on to the rock. It's a clutch situation. It's a winning drive. All they had to do was put something together that was much more efficient than a run. Yeah, fine. They could have, maybe a quarterback sneak. Did Matthew Stafford want all that smoke, knowing that he'd have to carry the ball and get it to the end zone, or at least gain the first down with maybe a Rams tush push or something like that? That probably would have been the most appropriate call, right? Have someone in the back of him and maybe a two-back set gaining that first down, but they didn't. They went to Kyren Williams. Look, I understand you want to trust the guy. I have no problem with that. I have no issue with it. But when the guy fumbles at the goal line, at the one, do you put your faith back in him as part of the running game when you have other methods and ways that you could have easily won that game? I mean, look, on paper, the Rams were the better team. But again, the games aren't played on paper. They're played on the field, in a stadium, on grass, sometimes hydroturf. But
no, I agree.
The Rams had the ability and had the upside to win this game. Could they have kicked a field goal with the amount of time just to tie the game, to force the 49ers to get into maybe crunch time situation, less than a 2-minute drill in order to get down the field for a game, not even a game-winning field goal, because there wasn't one in overtime. There isn't, based on NFL rules, but they could have at least attempted something to take the lead. Fortunately, that just did not have lost to a rival. 49ers fans traveled well. It was just very surprising that, maybe Devontae Adams wasn't targeted as much as he could have. They did, they did give most of the receptions to Puka Nacua, a couple to Tutu Atwell, who's, the week before had a, 80-yard, score for a touchdown and such. But they really tried to mix up between Allen and Ferguson, and they did their. Where do you think the Rams' epic failure came in on that drive that basically helped seal the deal for the 49ers?
I agree with you. I definitely do think they should have targeted Devon. They should have got Adams involved. I just think that what I noticed with Matthew Stafford is, even when he had
you expected, was it something that you thought of?
Yeah, I thought you should get him involved a little bit. One thing I noticed about Matthew Stafford is that when he locks into a number one guy, a guy he has great rapport in, he kind of just locks in on that guy exclusively. You saw that with Cooper Kupp. You saw that, you're starting to see that with Puka Nacua. And that's good to a certain extent, but you have to get some of your other playmakers involved. You can't just fall in love with one guy. And yes, they have enough weapons. I think that with Williams, I love the fact that they tried to win the game. I do agree with them not kicking that field goal, because there was only like 3 minutes left in the game. And Rudy, nobody wants a tie. Nobody. I agree with the last game that was a tie. Nobody really wants a tie. And I love the fact that the Rams went for the win. I do agree with everything. It's just that play call was, to me, a little too predictable. And he went on the wrong side. He went on the 49ers strong side. Had you flipped it, maybe you get that first down. It's kind of hard to get a 4th and 1 when everybody knows what play you're doing. Like you said, they should have 2 backs. If everybody knows what you're doing, who you're handing it off to, what side you're more than likely going to, it's hard for you to get that 1 yard. And this is where the tush push, something like that, would have made the difference, because it's almost a guarantee. If you're the Eagles, you get the first down, your drive continues, and you probably win the game.
Yeah, I think overall it was a sign that Fred Warner was on, and so you don't want to go against Fred Warner. The guy has been an absolutely stellar. He's got a ton of PBU. He's got more than Patrick Willis does. He has the most, actually. And of course they showed Patrick Willis with his guns blazing. But this is one of those things where you don't go on his side. You don't wander on his side, because that ultimately could be to your failure. right? You go on the left side, maybe some tree, maybe a tush push, something more dynamic than running it up the middle and or attacking Fred Warner at the line. It's just not something you do. It's just not. It's instinctive in any football player that plays on the defensive line to say, you know what, I want to get that ball. That's the whole point of it. Linebacker, defensive tackle, back, I'm going to get the ball, whether I'm going to shut and play him in man or play nickel or in dot, I'll get that ball. So mindset every single time, and Fred Warner's a perfect example of that, getting that ball. He's done it early and often. He's done it more early and often than probably any other player in the NFL. And if I pick a defensive player week for that, it would be Fred Warner. There's no doubt about it. The guy just plays lights out. It's just what he does. It's just who he is. And he's going to continue wreaking havoc on would-be ball carriers trying to strip that ball out, knowing that that's his bread and butter. And if I'm going to a Pro Bowl, extra, kudos in his pocket, which I will end up in Pro Bowl. But what really was critical for me were the fumbles by Kyron Williams. I mean, those were the game points this game. Yeah, Mac, did absolutely what to do as a backup. He had to get done what he knew he had to get done. But when you look at the fumbles by Kyron Williams, by far, imagine in regards to what you feel like as a player. Once you fumble that ball and it bounces on the turf or the grass or wherever, that's not a ball you can get back. You lost it, somebody else is going to get it, and you don't know who that is until you land. And then when you get up, you're thinking, oh man, I coughed it. I coughed it. Now I can't get that back. I can't do anything else now. Now I just have to look toward the future and say, you know what, I got to hold on the rock. And then he fumbles it again. So how much faith do you have in Kyron Williams moving forward if you're the 49ers, or excuse me, if you're the Rams, how much faith do you have in Kyron Williams, and or will you give more touches to other guys?
I would. I mean, Kyron Williams, less the fumbles, had a fantastic game. He really did. He had a stellar game, less the fumbles. He was really balling. And you could tell they trust him because they let him run on that 4th and 1. And so, you know what? I tell him, hey, just be more careful about holding onto the ball, especially towards the end of the game. Guys are going to try to punch it out. They're going to try to dislodge it. That's what they do. And to your point, Fred Warner is a baller. The guy is just a straight-up baller. You don't want to run on his side of the field if you can avoid it. And that, to me, was obvious. To me, it was obvious what play they were going to do on that last 4th and 1. Sean McVay said it perfectly after the game. He owned it. He should not have called that play. Not because of Kyron Williams' fumble so much, but it was too predictable. And I do think if you are the Rams, you keep giving Kyron Williams the ball because he did very good with catching the ball. He did very good with running it, less the fumbles. And to me, he had a stellar game. But you just got to hold on to the ball. I have a conversation with him, but I still keep feeding him the ball.
Do you feed it to him because he's the guy that you want to keep instilling the favoritism to? I mean, can't you just shift it around? So you know what? The guy is good, but he keeps confident up. Will running back coach show him how to hold on to the rock? I mean, sometimes it's instinctive, and sometimes when you're not quarterback, when you're not receiver, you have to hold the ball, and that means with two hands. You can't just left-handed if you have a defender coming on the right-hand side. It's just not something you do. So if you hold on to the ball, you double fist it, and you're doing this number, no way someone's going to rip that ball, because now that ball nose is trapped between the creases of your elbows on the inside, knowing you're going to score. So I have no trust in him at all, at least not at this point. And the only way he's going to make a believer out of me, not a believer out of me, let him hold on in camp, or at practice, and making him, hold on to it like he's carrying an egg, like you used to do in high school. If you drop the egg, you're dead, or you're gonna have CPS called on you, or whatever. So you got to hold on to the rock. People are not much. I mean, I'll give you a good example. So Jerome Bettis goes in, Super Bowl 40, fumbles at the line. Not that he fumbled, the ball was stripped from him at the line of scrimmage, but it wasn't for Ben Roethlisberger. Remember that game? It was a shoestring tackle. Defense did their job between James Ferrier and Brett Kiesel, all these, Troy Polamalu, all these guys, one of the best defenses in Super Bowl history, in my honest opinion, outside of obviously, the Dallas Cowboys, and, you had the Vikings who were pretty good with Deacon Jones, So the bottom line is that if you're going to hold on to the rock, we're talking 2 hands, lock in, put in your elbows, and get into the end zone. I know the guy, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a fan, but there were a lot of guys that I was a fan of. And the guys on the Rams defense who were quite honest, and I love that segment where they were showing Jared Verse, being in a workout situation with the former Red Aaron Darnold, and it's just as if the content was right for the sewing, put that all together, and it was just fabulous. But look, Puna Ford, his job, Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, Nate Landman, I think was getting up a little bit. Lemon's all over the place. So, and of course, you talk about Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk and Darius Williams. This is a young defensive core still for the Rams. So there's still room for growth. These guys have not hit their pinnacle yet, and I'm waiting for them to do so. But Jared, it's going to be hard to reverse. This team was defensively without Aaron Donald. But when you look at Jared Verse, he has serious upside. The guy is a juggernaut all into his own. I think the defense for the Rams are going to be just fine. My question is whether or not you're going to do more offensively, creatively, because there were times where I see the 49ers were lost in coverage, or they lost the man, or maybe the strong safety wasn't coming over to protect Puka Nacua and guard him or double him, and you have to double him off the line. There's no way. You can't let a guy that good, and I mean that good, get open. And that's when the Rams need to be a lot more effective offensively to say, well, who do we get to in the slant? Who are we going to throw that ball to in the slant or a crisscross? I think they should incorporate Devontae Adams that much more moving forward, because Puka is just getting drilled and nailed. Yeah, he loves the contact, but I'm sure he regrets some of it going head first. So if the Rams can remain more fluid and have more fluidity, offensively speaking, they're going to run into much better waters, because again, they're 3-2. It's not like this team is a lifeline, or they're going to call their mother, or reach out to any lifeline they have. They're going to reach out to who they need to, and not within themselves, in order to bring the next guy up with them to continue, whether it's on SoFi or whether you're somewhere else, right? So bottom line is the Rams did a good job. It was just Kyren Williams. I'm not putting it all on Kyren Williams. I'm just saying that when you're in those situations as an RB, as a running back, you have to hold on rock. I mean, you have to. That's like number 101. He learned that mano-a-mano in college. So it's not as if it's something new, right? Especially if guys drawing at that ball, trying to break it loose, it can have a PBU, or a tackle for loss, or some type of fumble, whatnot. Bottom line is that if you're the Rams offensively, be more creative. Don't run into Fred Warner, because I ran into brick wall. So enough about the Rams as far as that's concerned. Let's move over to the 49ers. I like what they did. They incorporated everybody. Everybody had a touch. Everybody had a catch. There were some guys where I didn't think they were going to even remotely get back. Curtis Robinson, Chase on the defensive side, Upton Stout. I mean, how cool is that name, right? Marquez Sigle, he got involved in the double tackling efforts as well, along with Fred Warner. So, I mean, this defense, to be honest with you, looked pretty good to me. I mean, there were some hurries, there were some solo tackles, 13 for Sigle, 12 for Warner, 7 solos. I mean, these guys were all over the place. And it was a complete team effort on the defensive side of the ball. What do you see from the defense that makes you possibly a believer out of the 49ers moving forward?
Yes, I mean they did. I mean they got a strong group. Kyle Shanahan did a fantastic job. Fred Warner is definitely one of my favorites on that defensive side. And he's a leader, not just for what he does, but he inspires his team. He's a gamer and a baller. You know, as you mentioned about K'Ron Williams, that he has to know when I'm facing the 49ers, Fred Warner is going to try to strip the ball from me. And the 49ers, big win from them. You know, you have a situation where you have a lot of guys injured. You come out there still undefeated, and on a game that you could have potentially lost, and they come out with a win. The 49ers are doing great. Props to Fred Warner, but also another thing about it is it wasn't just Fred Warner that made that tackle. It was kind of a group tackle. Fred Warner got in there. He broke it. You know, he put kind of like one of the last hits, but great defensive stop, 4th and 1. K'Ron could have gotten it, you know, but he didn't. He got stopped on a 4th and 1, and it sealed the game. Big one for the 49ers. They got to feel really, really good about that win with guys getting injured, and they're still undefeated.
Yeah, for Fred Warner's an unspoken, hero. I mean, he's the captain, right? Someone who's stout, who's solid, who's fluid, who knows where he's going, knows what to do, how to get other people involved. You have to have very solid communication. Fred Warner's one of those guys that knows how to communicate. And I love that pregame segment with Richard Sherman because that kind of put you a little bit further into his mindset as to how he approaches game after game after game after game. And he still has a lot of time left in the NFL, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. If the 49ers were smart, which I know they are, they'll reassess his contract, get him scored away for the remainder of his career. To be perfectly honest with you, he's a staple in that defense. That should be never taken for granted at all. Again, this was an all over the place type situation. This was all guns a-blazing. We got to, let the guys who are going to do their thing. Hopefully, they'll be able to show up on the field. I'm sure that's what position coaches are probably shaking their heads at, thinking, "Oh my gosh, here we go." Are these guys going to show up when they need to, or are they not going to show up? That was the biggest question, at least for me, from a receiving corps standpoint. I know George Kittle, tight end, tall guy, big dude, can take the hits, so on and so forth. But I want to see more depth. I want to see what depth and how that depth can be tested by opposing teams. They did fabulous. Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, we know CMC does his job day in and day out when he's on the field. When he's not on the field and he's unhealthy, that's the problem. Dake Tonjes and DeMarcus Robinson, Kyle Juszczyk, who is like a Swiss Army knife for any given team. We showed it with Baltimore, and obviously he's doing it for the 49ers now. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I thought he could have been incorporated a little bit more, especially on third short situations, perhaps, or maybe on the side, maybe a wide receiver, set formation, especially in the red zone. And then Malik Turner didn't do a whole lot. He was targeted once, but let's give these guys some more time. Let's give these guys a little trust. And that's where this receiving core is without guys like George Kittle. The captain, he's a leader. There's no question. But when you look at what these guys have done collectively against, first of all, on the road, secondly, a team they weren't expected to beat. Let's call that what it is. And thirdly, I don't know if anybody had ever. I didn't think the Thursday Night Football crew picked the teams they wanted to win. At least maybe I didn't. I missed that segment, and I was in the 49ers as an upset pick. Only because either on the road, because they have Mac Jones, but for no other reason did I think they were ever, going to be as close as they did, much less winning the game. So when you have CMC, Brian Robinson, Mac Jones with a couple rushes, I like that flex. He had that shoulder flex go. That was pretty sick. The other core and so on. They got Sky involved again, and more Kyle Juszczyk, that Swiss Army knife guy. But But look, Mac Jones looks as good of a starter in the NFL. Now, albeit for me to even have this conversation, I mentioned Al Michaels. I thought about Al Michaels prior to saying this, and that there has to be some type of conversation, as you know, Alan, in regards to who's going to be your quarterback moving forward. Yes, he signed Brock Purdy to this pretty decent sized extension. It's not much other quarterbacks in the league because he was ultimately Mr. Irrelevant, as you know, in the draft. But is there going to be a competition next year between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy to see who goes to be the number one starter?
I don't believe they will be. I mean, no disrespect to Mac. You know, he had a fantastic game. He really did. I love how loose and composed he was. But I still think they're gonna stick with.
I want to know.
You know, those bananas helped him out, and he's got something special with Kendrick Bourne. I mean that.
Because I'll tell you
Bourne
what, I look at Mac Jones all night, and I look at how he played, how fluid he was, the types of things that he did.
I still think Brock is your guy. I just think I think he'd have to do a little bit more, Mac, and then if he does, then maybe. But I love how he had that suit, the red and the black, and when he came in, he was loose. And you know what? He played. They got some playmakers there on the 49ers. Like you said, CMC, when he's healthy, he does his thing. Kendrick Bourne, man, he had a big day, huge day. I really like what the 49ers doing, Kyle Shanahan, and yes, I know they're happy they got that win. They ended the game on a defensive play, so props to them. And yes, I agree with you too. Fred Warner needs to be locked up for many, many years. That guy's special. He's just a straight up special baller. He makes everybody around him better.
Yeah, definitely so. I just think that there's a lot more to Mac Jones than I think we know. I don't know that he's been unlocked. I mean, you could have conversations about where Geno Smith was when he was drafted, right? Being drafted at USC. Josh, who isn't even on football roster anymore, I don't think. And not to say that Josh Rosen wasn't good. He just wasn't that good. He wasn't good enough to stay on an active NFL roster. He couldn't see what he needed to see. And I think Sam Darnold basically, they're crossing rivals. And when I interviewed Josh Rosen after being drafted by the Cardinals, I thought to myself, why are you complaining? Why are you whining? Why just let it go, bro? Just let it go, let it roll. And your time's coming. You're going to have that time. When I interviewed Sam Darnold, I mentioned to him off camera, I said, Josh Rosen seems be a little bit bent at the fact that you were picked ahead of him. And he just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, well, whatever. His problem kind of on his face. Now, I had interviewed Sam quite a few times when he was at USC before he ever ended college. But one thing about him is that he's able to refine his craft. A lot of misnomers in regards to quarterback in the league that just still, Smith is a guy who may just still not get it. I don't believe he understands the reads. I don't understand. I just don't believe he has the recognition for coverages and coverage formations. You look at guys who have exceeded expectations from those who have drafted him, and they just drafted Sam Darnold. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, here we go. And I knew he was going with dumpster fire organization. That's how long the Jets have been a dumpster fire organization, at least since then, or maybe before then, for that matter, minus Joe Namath. But I just think to myself, man, this is another dumpster fire organization, along with the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, have been absolutely horrible the last decade or two in regards to quarterbacks. And I interviewed Coach myself, and he says the team is the same. Ownership is just not the same. for the Bears, and the only thing they hang their head on is 85 year. I mean, if you're the Jets, you can't hang on Joe Namath, okay? If you're the Bears, you can't hang on Mike Ditka or Jim McMahon or Refrigerator Perry. You have to understand that it's about quarterback play, and because the quarterbacks out of the 2018 NFL draft are okay, obviously an exception to that because he's been able to refine his game, recognize, look, man, I got to this down. I got to be a better person. I have to listen, pay attention, follow my reads, my presence. He's worked with some of the best offensive coaches in the industry in the NFL. So for him to want to refine his craft, showing what he can do when he was in San Francisco under Shanahan's offensive schemes, when he was good with the Minnesota Vikings and what he did to help them get to a near NFC championship game. Let's think about that as well. So now he takes his resume and now finds himself in Seattle with a new head coach, first year head coach rather, and trying to do darn good things. I just don't know that quarterbacks like Geno Smith will last very long in the National Football League. And nobody believed that Mac Jones was going to be able to recover from the lacking and the amount of poor quarterback play. Why? Because his offensive line stunk. It was horrible. It was pathetic. And the reads and the grouping that he had in the wide receiver, the tight end, it just wasn't there. Not just on the field, but on paper, and being the student of the game allows you to see what could unfold if you have the mindset to do it. So go to Bankroll U, find them on the App Store, Google Play, the Bankroll U app. Download today. Great betting, safe betting, smart betting. Bet Bankroll U. Fabulous stuff, man. I appreciate you finally getting you on the show. Good stuff. Tell everybody where they can find you, connect with you, and get to hear some of the awesome things you have going on.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Rudy. And they can find me at Alan Alford. Just type my name, AlanAlford, or AlanAlfordSportsTalkShow.com. Please connect with me. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter. You can find me on the same name, Alan Alford. I love talking sports and keep in tune with a lot of great things. I broadcast the games too. And we're going to have a fun time. You following us on the Alan Alford Sports Talk Show.
Excellent. Sounds good. Alan, hey, man. Awesome catching up with you. Finally able to get it done. Would love to have you back.
Same here. Likewise. Going to have you on my show too, Rudy. We got to do this again. It was a good time. It was definitely a good time to wait. That's right. Things happen for a reason. All right. Take it easy.
True story. Alan, thanks a lot, man. You take care. Go follow Alan. He's a high profile ad. Great guy. God-fearing man. Thank you so much, Alan. I appreciate you, man.
Same here. Likewise. God bless you. Take care now. Bye-bye now.
Have a great day. Thanks. Well, you heard it here first. Go to Bankroll U. Download the app from your Apple Play Store, Google Play Store for that matter. Go to the Bankroll U, bankrollu.com, and check out all the great things they have to offer. Their sports betting. They know what they're talking about. They've been doing this a long time. I'm Rudy Reyes on the RudyRockShow.com. Go to YouTube, subscribe to my channel, please, and thank you. Like this video, share this video. Let me know if you have any questions, anything at all. Sometimes I don't have the chance to do so, but make sure you tune in. Go to the RudyRockShow.com and the RudyRockShow.net, and throw me Twitter. And with that, or X, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, you can find me on Instagram or Rudy Reyes. And I think that covers all the social media channels anyway. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll do this again very soon.